He stood in front of the American Idol cameras in 2013 with a smile so wide you couldn't help but root for him. Caleb Flynn, worship pastor, family man, husband, the kind of guy who made you feel like goodness still existed in the world. During his hometown interview segment, he looked directly into the camera and said, "I absolutely love the Lord. I love my wife more than anything. She is very, very pretty. I love her." America watched. His church watched. His community in Tipp City, Ohio watched, and they all believed him. Caleb Flynn, 39 years old, had built his entire identity around faith, family, and music. He served as a worship arts pastor and worship director at churches in Ohio between 2010 and 2021, leading congregations in praise, standing at the front of sanctuaries with his hands raised and a mic in his grip. He was the guy people looked up to, the guy who set the spiritual tone on Sunday mornings. By 2026, he transitioned out of ministry and into the corporate world, working as vice president of sales at Richard D. Smith & Sons in Tipp City, a quiet, hardworking town just outside of Dayton. He and his wife Ashley Flynn, 37, had two young elementary school-aged daughters together and a home on Cunningham Court. From every angle, this looked like a blessed life. Ashley Flynn was well known and well loved in her own right. She was a volleyball coach at Tipp City Schools, a former elementary school teacher, and a mother who was deeply involved in her daughters' lives. The community adored her. She was the kind of woman who showed up for her students, for her players, for her kids. On the night of February 15th into the early hours of February 16th, 2026, two little girls were asleep in their rooms. Ashley was in the master bedroom. The house was quiet. Whatever happened inside that home that night would shatter everything: the image, the family, the future. The question wasn't just what happened. The question was whether the man who called 911 in tears was a devastated husband, or a calculated killer standing in the wreckage of what he had done. You're about to find out exactly what the evidence says. And when you hear it, you'll understand why a Miami County grand jury had no choice but to hit him with 11 counts and not a single way out. If this story has already got you gripped, make sure you like this video and subscribe to The Hidden Verdict. We cover the cases that demand to be told. Don't miss a single one. At 2:31 in the morning on February 16, 2026, emergency dispatch received a call that would set everything in motion. The voice on the other end was Caleb Flynn, frantic, hysterical, barely able to form sentences. "Oh my God, somebody broke into my home. Somebody broke into my home and shot my wife," he screamed. "My wife, she's got 2 shots to her head. There's blood everywhere. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Dispatchers immediately sent officers to the Flynn residence on Cunningham Court in Tipp City. On the call, Caleb said he wasn't sure if the intruder was still in the house. He told dispatch that he and one of his daughters were locked in a bedroom. He painted the picture of a terrified father hiding from an unknown killer who had just shot his wife in cold blood. But here, where the cracks started showing before officers even walked through the door. The dispatcher relayed to responding units, "RP and juvenile daughter are locked in a bedroom." Then came an immediate correction. Just a correction: the juveniles are going to be in their own rooms asleep currently. Both children were in their own rooms, asleep, undisturbed. If someone had broken into that home and fired 2 gunshots into a woman's head, how were 2 small children still peacefully asleep in separate bedrooms? No screaming, no fleeing, no signs of terror from the kids. Officers arrived at 2:40 a.m. and found Ashley Flynn in the master bedroom, shot twice in the head. She was pronounced dead. Detectives were immediately alerted. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation was called in to process the scene. Ashley's family was contacted to come and collect the 2 daughters, who were walked out of that house without their mother. Caleb Flynn told investigators he had been sleeping separately from Ashley that night because he had a cough. He said he heard something, discovered what happened, and called 911. But investigators began noticing things at the scene that didn't align with the story of a home invasion. No signs of forced entry consistent with a break-in. No credible evidence of an intruder. Just a dead woman, a grieving husband, and a story that was beginning to unravel thread by thread. Within 82 hours of Ashley Flynn's death, Caleb Flynn was in handcuffs, arrested, charged with her murder, and that was only the beginning of what was coming for him. Don't go anywhere, this story gets deeper. Like this video and subscribe to The Hidden Verdict. Every chapter of this case matters, and we're not done yet. When investigators began piecing together what actually happened inside the Flynn home that night, what emerged wasn't the story of a random intruder. What emerged was a picture of a calculated plan, and a cover-up that prosecutors say began the moment Ashley Flynn hit the floor. Prosecutors allege that Caleb Flynn used a 9mm handgun to shoot his wife twice in the head while she lay in their master bedroom. 2 shots, deliberate, targeted. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This wasn't a stranger who stumbled into the wrong house. According to investigators, this was a husband who had a plan, and that plan included making it look like something it was. Prosecutors allege that after the shooting, Caleb Flynn staged the crime scene to make it appear as though a home invasion had taken place. That is why he called 911 screaming about a break-in. That is why he positioned himself as the terrified, surviving spouse. The performance was designed to throw investigators off, but law enforcement wasn't fooled. Among the charges that came with the original arrest were 2 counts of tampering with evidence, charges that reflect exactly this alleged staging of the scene. When the Miami County grand jury later handed down the full indictment, those tampering charges grew to 3 counts. The grand jury wasn't just confirming the original allegations, they were expanding them. They were saying the evidence of a cover-up was strong enough to warrant additional criminal weight. And then came the most chilling detail of all. Between February 16th and February 18th, literally in the days immediately following Ashley's death, while her body was barely cold, prosecutors allege that Caleb Flynn attempted to intimidate a witness in the criminal case. He was not yet under arrest. His wife had just been killed. And according to prosecutors, he was already working on controlling the narrative and silencing someone who knew something. The indictment does not identify the witness, but the charge is clear. 2 counts of intimidation of an attorney, victim, or witness in a criminal case. Think about what that means. This man allegedly didn't just shoot his wife and call 911 with a fake story. He then allegedly tampered with the crime scene, and then, before detectives had even completed their investigation, he was already allegedly going after witnesses. That is not the behavior of an innocent man in shock. That is the behavior, according to prosecutors, of someone trying desperately to outrun the walls closing in on him. Those walls closed anyway. This case is bigger than most people realize. Like this video and subscribe to The Hidden Verdict, we go where the evidence goes, every single time.
To charge Ashley's Tipp City Police Chief Gregory Atkins is calling this case complex, but says investigators had enough evidence for a probable cause to charge Ashley's husband with murder. Caleb is officially being charged with 1 count of homicide, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 2 counts of tampering with evidence. Ashley was shot and killed in her home early Monday morning, and her 2 children were in the home but weren't injured. I spoke with Lauren Smith, a psychology adjunct instructor from Cedarville University, about what the Flynn children may be experiencing and how people should support them.
When a child loses a parent, especially in such a sudden and violent way, the impact goes beyond just grief. And so oftentimes children are not only mourning the loss of somebody that they love and struggling with that grief, they're also having to make sense of a world that all of a sudden doesn't feel as safe to them as it did before. And they're processing through those feelings of, am I safe, in response to this tragedy. Now, grief is a process and it looks different for everybody, and everybody experiences it differently. So, some things that might impact the way these children experience grief could be right, the relationship to the person who was lost. Obviously, this was somebody who was very close to them, and that's going to have a profound impact on them. Other things that could impact the way somebody experiences grief could be their cultural, religious practices, their age, and just developmental understanding of what death is, personality factors, any previous experiences that they've had with death, what social support or familial support looks like around them, and then any additional stressors that might be happening in their lives. So, some children, as they're processing through grief, we might see them ask a lot of questions and want information. Other children might become quiet or struggle with irritability as they're trying to make sense of this new world that they're in. And then some children might choose to show their grief through changes in behavior or sleep or attention or ability to, perform in school. I think the best approach is to just be present with them, be in the loss with them, let them know that they're not alone and that their community will rally around them.
On Wednesday, March 18, 2026, a Miami County grand jury handed down an indictment that removed every escape route Caleb Flynn had. 11 counts, stacked, layered, comprehensive. The kind of indictment that tells you prosecutors didn't leave a single angle uncovered. Let's break down exactly what he's facing. Count 1, aggravated murder. This is the most serious charge in Ohio criminal law. It means the grand jury found sufficient evidence that Caleb Flynn purposefully caused Ashley Flynn's death with prior calculation and design. This is not a heat-of-the-moment allegation. The words prior calculation and design mean premeditation, planning, intent. The state of Ohio is telling the world that they believe Caleb Flynn decided to kill his wife before he pulled that trigger. Counts 2, 3, and 4, 3 counts of murder. Ohio law allows for multiple murder charges under different legal theories, and the grand jury brought all 3. Each count carries its own weight, its own legal standard, and its own potential consequence. Counts 5 and 6, 2 counts of felonious assault. These charges involve the use of a deadly weapon, that 9 handgun, in the commission of the attack. Several of the charges in this indictment also carry firearm specifications, which in Ohio law means additional mandatory prison time on top of whatever sentence is handed down for the base charges. This isn't just about what happened, it's about how it happened. Counts 7, 8, and 9, 3 counts of tampering with evidence. The grand jury expanded the original 2 tampering charges to 3, which signals that investigators found even more evidence of alleged scene manipulation and destruction of records or physical items tied to the investigation. Counts 10 and 11, 2 misdemeanor counts of intimidation of an attorney, victim, or witness in a criminal case. Even though these are misdemeanor-level charges, their presence in this indictment is devastating. They tell the story of a man who prosecutors believe was not passively waiting for justice to unfold, but was actively trying to interfere with it. On March 19th, just one day after the indictment was handed down, Caleb Flynn was arraigned in Miami County Common Pleas Court. His bond was raised to $3.5 million. He pleaded not guilty to all counts. His attorney, L. Patrick Mulligan, called the prosecution's timeline a rush to judgment and raised concerns about wrongful conviction. But 11 counts, signed off by a grand jury, tell a very different story. This indictment is a wall, and we're going to tell you what happens next. Like this video and subscribe to The Hidden Verdict. This case is far from over. Before we close this chapter, we have to say her name one more time. Ashley Flynn, 37 years old, volleyball coach, former elementary school teacher, mother of 2 little girls who had to be walked out of their home in the middle of the night by strangers because their mother was gone. Ashley Flynn was not a footnote in her husband's story. She was the story. She was the heart of a family, the backbone of a school community, and a woman who deserved to grow old. Her daughters deserved to have her. Whatever happened inside that house on Cunningham Court in Tipp City on the night of February 15th into the morning of February 16th, 2026, robbed 2 children of their mother. And the community of Tipp City, the volleyball players she coached, the students she taught, they are all feeling that loss. Now, where does this case go? As of March 30th, 2026, Caleb Flynn has a pretrial hearing scheduled before Miami County Common Pleas Judge Gina Pratt. The legal process is moving. The machinery of justice is in motion. With an 11-count indictment that includes aggravated murder with prior calculation and design, firearm specifications across multiple charges, evidence tampering, and witness intimidation, Caleb Flynn is looking at the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars if convicted. His attorney will argue that this was a rush to judgment. He will argue that the investigation was incomplete. He will argue that prosecuting the surviving spouse without exhausting every other lead is a recipe for wrongful conviction. That is his job. That is his right. And Caleb Flynn is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But the grand jury heard the evidence. 11 counts, no holes left to crawl through. The staged scene, the tampered evidence, the alleged witness intimidation, the 2 little girls asleep in their rooms while their mother was shot twice in the head in the next room. A system of 12 people reviewed what investigators found and said, "This is enough. This man needs to stand trial." Ashley Flynn's story is not over. Her daughters are still here. Her memory is still here. And this case will continue to unfold. When it does, the hidden verdict will be here to cover every single development. Because the truth always matters, and Ashley Flynn deserved the truth. If this story moved you, if it angered you, if it made you want to follow what happens next, then like this video and subscribe to The Hidden Verdict. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single update on this case. We cover the stories that matter. We stay until the verdict is in. Thank you for watching.